Good afternoon. It's Jim with the Brewers Association of Maryland. Thank you for tuning in for our last Fermented Friday of February 2021. Didn't come fast enough. We're cruising right through it. It feels like we started doing these just yesterday. And in reality, in 2 weeks, it will have been 1 year of us doing these types of talks for you. So for everybody who's tuned in over the past year, thank you very much. We appreciate all of your great feedback, the questions you've asked, the input that you've given to these conversations. And we really appreciate you tuning in to learn more about the Maryland beer scene. This afternoon's talk is going to be a great one. We're going to talk all about you, the consumer. This industry would not be here if it weren't for the awesome people that are out there drinking Maryland beer. So thank you for all that you're doing to support our breweries. Thank you for all of your great feedback, for attending events, all the things that you've done on behalf of all of the Brewers Association members. Just want to say that we truly appreciate everything that you're doing out there to keep this industry afloat and make sure that it's still fun and engaging for everyone. We've got a really cool panel of guests this afternoon. But before we jump into it, I have to do a little bit of business. The first thing I'd like to do is remind everybody that we have a few more days to check out the glassware sale that's going on. BeerMe, BIERMI.com/store/BAM. You can buy these limited edition BAM glasses. Proceeds from every one of these glass sales will directly benefit BAM and the hard work that we're doing to advocate for this industry. We'll also be benefiting our members directly by easing their burden for their self-sustained organization. The breweries in the state fund this organization through their dues, and any additional money that we're able to raise through fundraisers like events or sales of this glassware help ease their burden and give us an opportunity to promote them better and advocate better on their behalf. So if you have a couple of bucks or you were thinking about buying an extra 4-pack this week, maybe you can turn that extra 4-pack into a pair of glasses and have something cool to drink out of. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Brandon Skillman, also known as the Bearded Beer Traveler. I've got Lucas from Homemade and Brendan O'Leary from True Respite. Gentlemen, how are we all doing today?
Doing good.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate this. I think this is going to be a great talk. I don't know. I think you guys could hear my intro while we were doing that. I think all the things I said were true and valid. We really do appreciate all the great things that these consumers are doing for this industry. They've been engaged. They've been great for years and years, and continues to get better. So before we really kick into this, the reason that we have Brandon on today, Brandon is not a Maryland brewer, but he does work with a brewery in the region, and he also is an administrator of the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club. And if you've been on Facebook and you like craft beer and you live in or around Maryland, it is quite likely that you've come in contact with this group at one point or another. And today's going to be an exploration of this group and how groups like this are really impacting this industry. I think that there are some really cool things to talk about. So, Brandon, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get Lucas and Brendan in to talk about themselves.
Hi. Like Jim said, my name is Brandon Skillman. I'm one of the admins for the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club. And it's really all I got, to be honest with you.
How about you tell us how you got involved with the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club? Just a brief story about that, and then kind of what the club is.
So Maryland Beer Drinkers Club is essentially just it's a Facebook group. The idea being to draw together everyone who wants to know more about craft beer in Maryland, whether it be local beer or something else, or stuff that you've traded for. But the idea is to be a place where everyone can be involved in conversations, from someone who's just getting into craft beer to people who've been doing this forever, or professionals, industry people, stuff like that. And I've been it's probably been 5 years now that I've been a member. I got added way back in the day when there were like 50 or 60 people, as opposed to the almost 10,000 members that we have now. And just kind of I got volunteered to help moderate and take care of some things, and I guess I did a pretty decent job because I'm still doing it.
So that was your fundatory promotion, huh?
Yeah, more or less. Just got a message from Zach, and he said, "Hey, so I added you to do I added you as an admin for this group, and just kind of make sure everybody follows the rules and so on and so forth." And that's how it started.
Very cool. Lucas is with Homemade. Lucas, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys have been up to and what you're doing joining us this afternoon?
Yeah. Well, we just opened up in mid-November. Things have been going pretty well for us. I don't have a lot to say other than that. Kind of keep chatting back and forth, and then I'll think of some.
Love it. And how about you, Brandon?
Anyway.
People have seen you on here before. Why don't you reintroduce yourself and let people know what's going on?
Yeah, I'm Brendan O'Leary, one of the co-founders of True Respite Brewing Company down in Rockville. For a little while, I was the treasurer of the supporters of Maryland Brewing Pack. I'm on the BAM Legislative Affairs Committee, so I help figure out what BAM's position are on a bunch of different rules, laws, regulation that come down. And now I'm here on a Friday and drinking out of my What's in Your Glass glass, more or less as an ode to the last time I was on a podcast here with Brandon regarding Maryland Beer Drinkers Club. We had a great time last time we were up here. So, and this one's for you, buddy. I know you can't drink any today, so.
That's a beautiful pour. Look at that. Masterfully done.
Thank you, sir.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's jump off right there. I mean, you're showing a great glass. It has its roots. The story of that beer has its roots in this club. Tell us that story. I know you kind of covered it already with Chris on a special inside episode of what was going on in the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club. But I think that this is a great kind of stepping stone into why we have you guys on with Brandon to talk about this interaction between the consumer group and your businesses.
Yeah, I mean, so Maryland Beer Drinkers Club, like when I joined originally just as a person who was curious to learn about Maryland beer. And, I'm a brewery owner, so I like to keep an eye on what are people talking about, what's cool, what's exciting, what do people care about. And over time, I like to engage with the community. And over time, it just has grown into a thing where people have shown a lot of really great support for True Respite. And I wanted to engage with the group and give something back a little bit and a nod, an homage to the folks who have been really kind and supportive and welcoming to us. So every day in the group, a woman named Irene asks, what's in your glass? And it's become sort of like a tradition that we have, I guess, in the group. And every single day, 200, 300 comments from people saying, I'm trying this, I'm here, I'm drinking that. And I thought it was just a really nice way of getting a lot of engagement from folks. And someone had commented, one of the members of the group, like, wouldn't it be cool if True Respite and Hysteria did a What's in Your Glass beer for Irene? Because Irene visits True Respite a lot. She lives in the area. So I was like, yeah, of course. Like what a great way to engage, with people who are engaged in beer and have a little fun with it. So that's where it came from. It was actually a comment in one of those What's in Your Glass threads suggesting this. And we like to engage with customers. We like to give people what they want. And I just thought that was an awesome idea. So here we are.
I know that there are lots of opportunities in craft beer for people to make requests or offer their sometimes unsolicited input for style and design opportunities for new beers and release ideas. What's it feel like when you have a group of people who are committed and want to see you succeed offering those versus just some person walking by at a beer festival saying, oh, you need to do something like this?
It's not just like the emotional engagement. Typically the most active people in a group like Maryland Beer Drinkers Club are very knowledgeable about beer. It's a cultural thing that they're pretty deeply involved in. So these are folks who have generally good ideas. I mean, I get all kinds of pitches for things we could do from folks who are, super well versed, really traditional, to folks who are brand new to it, don't know a lot about how the business side works. And it feels great to have people engaged in your business enough to want to share ideas, but not all of them are going to be great ones. But in particular, this group is full of a lot of folks who generally know what they're talking about. And that means that when someone says, I would love to drink a True Respite and Hysteria hazy themed after this thread, it's like, good idea. It's not hard to know that that's a good idea. So it's nice to see that level of engagement, with folks who know what they're talking about and who are engaged in the community and the culture.
Lucas, as a fairly young brewery here in the state, I think you're one of the newest to have opened in the last few months. What kind of advantage have you seen? I think you were probably engaged with Maryland Beer Drinkers Club before you guys opened. You had an opportunity to kind of see what the community was talking about. What kind of interaction with the consumer did that offer you ahead of time or in the planning process for opening?
I mean, I kind of stalked that page for every year before we opened up, even before I was in Maryland at all, just to see what people wanted in the area. And like Brendan said, there's a lot of great ideas, and that many people that are well-versed in beer are telling you what they want. It only makes sense to kind of brew it, and then they help promote it. So, it just win-win.
I was going to say,
there's not everything in there that people suggest that I want to brew, but we'll figure it out. We'll meet in the middle somewhere.
That's one of the cool parts about that what's in your glass, like that roll call, right? Because you get to see what the people that you see familiar faces in there, you learn about people's preferences, but you get to see what they're offering up, and it may start that conversation about, oh, maybe that's something I should go check out, or, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? And we know that there's a lot of hype driving a lot of beer and a lot of this desire to go get the newest release and the hottest thing. And if you've got the jump on something that your friend doesn't know about or something like that, and they see it there, that translates to a sale for a brewery, I'm sure.
Yeah, or when someone leaves a bad review and then you turn it into this massive meme on the page, and all of a sudden multiple beers are coming out of it, like Keeping It Real, for example.
Yeah. We had some fun with that one.
I think that's a really cool story. There's an opportunity there to take something and spin it into a positive and kind of, extend an olive branch to somebody who may not necessarily have understood or appreciated what your business was when they first came into your tap room. But once they get the opportunity to get to know you and learn more about what's going on, I think that says a lot. And that's like a customer service deal right off the get that most people don't normally have the opportunity to experience. Brandon, from your experience watching these interactions.
Yeah, I think the.
Oh, sorry, Lucas. Go ahead.
Sorry, man. I got a crazy lag here.
I just saw your chat about that.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
I tried to reply and hit leave.
Brandon, I was just going to ask, from your perspective as an administrator, you're spending a lot of time seeing what's going on in the threads, what people are talking about, how they're commenting. What can you say about this interaction? Did you ever think that as a member of that page, you were going to see brewery representatives and owners directly interacting with people to get new ideas and solicit feedback?
Honestly, like back in the day, I'd never even crossed my mind. Like I remember a couple of years ago when I first started seeing brewery owners and brewers and stuff asking people and like really interacting on the page, whether it was just, commenting thank you when somebody, posted a positive review of one of their beers. And then like you guys said, asking people were like, oh, like, I really wish you would do something like this. And then even just a little back and forth. I was so stoked when I first saw that happening, and seeing that it was more than just like, it was becoming more than just a place for people to post what beer, like, oh, like this is the beer I'm drinking today. And once it got to be more than that, it was like, this is really cool having this interaction between industry professionals and just your regular consumers here. So
yeah, there's a laundry list of great people in this industry who you see popping up in there all the time, whether they're from the retail side or they're from the supply side of the brewery operation. And seeing the engagement and conversation is wonderful. I'm thinking of things that I saw during the last week. We saw somebody pour a beer from Manor Hill that looked like it probably should not have come out of their brewery. Yeah. And immediately Eric was there to answer the question, offer a solution. And I think that more and more we're going to see breweries being able to tap in directly to fixing a problem or offering a solution without this like ethereal idea of all of the negativity that happens in a void. You know, if somebody just yells out into the chaos that they have a problem, everybody wants to jump onto that. But once there's somebody there with a solution or an answer and a remedy, I think that really helps.
Yeah, especially having it be a public thing. Like if someone's going to say something publicly, like negative about something, and then having that, like you said, that answer and that fix also be able to come publicly on the same platform, so that everyone who saw the negative can also see the positive. That's definitely a plus.
Well, and I think that same example was set by Lucas's partner Dylan when they had their issue with that first review. I think the first thing Dylan said was, "Hey, I'll buy you a 4-pack of your favorite beer from that other brewery you mentioned, and happy to talk to you about what we're doing here."
Yeah. Another thing I like about having the professionals in here is that they can kind of give explanations and let a lot of the less experienced people try to get them to understand what's actually involved in making beer professionally. Like you might not always make the beer that you particularly want to make. And by that I just mean, maybe you want to make lagers all the time, but you need to make something that's going to sell, or there's issues that happen and people don't understand that there are problems and they can happen virtually no matter what. All you can do is try to fix it after you find out about it,
I think that's a really good segue into this wonderful question. It's directed to Brendan, but have there been any times that you've changed your opinion or tried something new because of something that you've seen posted in the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club? I think you've already been an adventurous beer drinker, but was there anything there that grabbed you specifically? And then we'll go around the horn and see who else has a good answer for that.
In terms of like my drinking habits, I generally like what I like. I've tried a lot of different beers. I don't generally chase hype, but what Beer Drinkers Club has helped me understand is what people get excited about. And so changing my mind, yes, in the sense of like I approach beer differently based on a lot of what I see out there. It's a really great place where you understand hype. I mean, this is not a club for people who are really into like Coors Light. It's generally speaking, like if you like Coors Light, that's fine. You'll probably learn something if you come to the page, but you're not going to see everyone crowding around a post that says, "Look, I just had a Coors Light." Everyone's like, "Yeah, Coors, awesome." It's just not that environment. So, but
you might actually get met with some toxicity.
You may indeed. But what you learn is, what do people get excited about? And so from my perspective as a beer drinker, I'm curmudgeonly and set in my ways for what I enjoy to drink. And honestly, I own a brewery. I enjoy our beer very much. And I probably drink 80% of the beer I drink is True Respite beer because I get to bring it home for free and I enjoy it anyway. So, but at the same time, it does help me when I'm like, hey, let's do something creative and exciting and fun. Let's reach out to a new part of the community. There's a lot to be learned from that board, and that's really what I'm taking out of my participation in there.
Lucas, have you found anything that you had to have because somebody mentioned it or showed it on the Beer Drinkers Club threads? No, that lag, man. Poor guy. I have a feeling you answered, but it didn't come through. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Brandon, how about you? You're watching everything that's coming through there. You post a lot about the exciting stuff that you're trying and the new releases that you're seeing. Have you been swayed by anything that you've seen the members in that club put up?
I wouldn't say like fully swayed. Things have taken higher priority for me based on what I've seen posted. Whether it be visiting, like getting over to visit new breweries or things like that. I know. I remember when Pharmacy first opened, I wanted to go, but it was, the weather wasn't great. And then I started seeing people posting about some of the kind of weird beers they're doing. Like they did I want to say it was like a triple with beets, and I was like, oh, that sounds like really interesting. So it became priority, and I think I went the next weekend.
So the experience that you're seeing from people having unique engagements at a brewery or a unique release is something that it may not completely sway you, but it may at least drive you to try something new.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, for me, I want to go everywhere. I want to go everywhere. I want to try everything as much as I can. But kind of like the order that I do them in might get changed based on what I'm seeing people post about.
So I know when I was representing a brewery and working towards engaging consumers with ideas about the beers that we were releasing from the brewery where I was, I always had this like trepidation to come in and try to promote too hard within the club. Felt like it was kind of like a sacred space for people to be talking about their beers and sharing what they were up to. I'm wondering if there's a feeling that there's a little bit of overuse from breweries promoting within these little groups, or if it's a strategy that more breweries should be pursuing to engage with people who really care about what they're doing.
I mean, I personally, I have no issue with people advertising and promoting stuff, as long as it doesn't get spammy. You know, if you post the same thing every day for a week, people are going to get frustrated with it. But definitely, I mean, especially since it's a pretty local page, it'll get you more direct engagement, in my opinion, with people in your area who are more likely to then be able to come visit and, you know, partake in whatever it is that you're doing.
I was really afraid of that. I had trepidation about that in the beginning too, Jim, but so I stuck my toes in the water, just like, hey, we're doing this thing. And then everyone was all excited and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. So it's like, all right, well, I'll come back and try this again. And, you know, you start in the end, like I've learned that it's a different language than when I'm promoting on like a brewery page. Like I'm not a business coming out to present to my customer base what's happening. I'm a member of the group who's enthusiastic about Maryland beer too. And so you approach it as an individual who's having a conversation with people who might care, as opposed to a business who's promoting to a general customer base. And that like really personalized approach and that personal interaction. And like, I like to share stories about why we brewed what we brewed and what it means. And it's just a whole different message. It's a whole different voice. It's a whole different approach than just a brewery promoting itself. And I think that what I've learned is by approaching it that way, as also a fan of craft beer, and I'm, you know, just part of the community, and here's what I'm excited about and what we're doing this week. People have been really, really receptive to that. I have not gotten a lot of pushback. And so I'm far less afraid to, you know, put information out there now than when I started, because I found that the people in the group really love having those personal interactions with the people behind the brands. They actually love that connection and that communication. And so I end up talking to people and meeting people who I never would have, because it opens up new lines of communication. And after all, we're just people who love beer. So it's good.
Lucas, have you guys seen any opportunity to promote what you guys have been doing to the folks in that group and kind of share your stories?
Oh, absolutely. I like to be kind of annoying and just goofy in there, but still showcase what we're doing. And you know, Brandon said it a lot better than I will, but like, yeah, a lot of communication with anybody that's in that group. And you know, that's what we're there for. We put ourselves out there and show what we're doing. You know, people like George from Black Flag's always doing stuff on there. I don't think enough of us use it well enough.
I think that you're absolutely
right. If it is
right.
getting annoying, people have no problem telling me.
I think to both what you and Brendan are saying, you guys come there as personalities of yourself who happen to be affiliated, rather than coming in with this mindset of I'm wearing the hat of just my brewery and all I'm here to do is talk about what we're doing. And I think that that's commendable as a member of that group, and watching how it happens. It seems organic. It doesn't seem like it's something forced or, solely motivated by trying to get somebody to buy your beer. It sounds like you want to be part of the conversation more than anything else.
Absolutely. I mean, I try to comment on those posts all the time, man. Like, I just want to see what people are doing. I'm as much a fan as anybody that comes to our tap room, you know?
Right.
It's a good way to hone your meme game too.
It doesn't hurt.
Greg Parnas, good friend of the Brewers Association of Maryland, does great things for beer in Maryland and DC. How frustrated do you guys get when people don't understand the technical side of brewing? And I think this goes to Brandon's comment earlier a little bit about not understanding that something can happen all the time in the process, and without that understanding, you might have an upset customer who's venting. And what do you do with the real unrealistic expectations or uninformed opinions?
I don't know. I'm still trying to learn the technical side of brewing, so no.
I think everybody is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't expect people to know how to brew to come in here and drink and enjoy our beer. I mean, that's not their. If they're not into it, they're not into it. And if they want to know, that's a learning experience. So we get to talk to them. You know.
I mean,
I think people enjoy that just as well.
I definitely find it frustrating at times but you know, it's not like I'm not angry at anybody for not understanding. Part of it, we have a mantra or a tenet at True Respite. We have a few of them, but one of them is set expectations, meet expectations. And so part of, you know, making a customer happy is letting them know what they should be looking forward to, and then hitting that expectation you set. And, you know, if you don't do that, like we had an issue 2 years ago. We put out El Drac, which was a hazy IPA with blueberry puree. The pectins interacted with the wheat protein, and it made these globules that just floated around in the beer, and it turned this funny off gray color. And some people were in there, understandably upset, like, what the hell's wrong with my beer? And I had the opportunity to come in and be like, well, the pectins are interacting funny with the proteins from the wheat. It definitely looks funny. I totally understand why you're grossed out by it, but I promise you, it's all totally drinkable, still delicious. But either way, we didn't meet your expectations, and let me just get you another 4-pack of something else. And there was so much appreciation from the community, because it was like, oh, like now I understand what happened. It's an opportunity for education. And it's nice because there's a lot more forgiveness, I guess, that comes towards the breweries when you're able to be in there and be like, hey, here's what happened. Here's why I wasn't expecting it. I understand that, it didn't meet your expectations. Beer's still safe. Go ahead and enjoy it. Let me, get you another 4-pack. And everyone leaves that interaction better, like you turn a bad moment into a good moment. And it's nice to be able to do that.
Brandon, what are your thoughts on that? Seeing the members, kind of getting that opportunity to become more educated in some instances. I have to admit, looking at some posts, you can tell people who have a little bit of a background. Like, there are people that have enough to be dangerous. There are people who really know their stuff. And then there are people with not a care in the world about how the beer is made. They just want to know what's in their glass.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said earlier, I love that interaction can be there. Like, it's another way to educate people. It's just another platform for it. But yeah, there are a lot of people that, like you said, they have enough, they know enough to be dangerous because they think they know more than they actually do. And then there's people who do know, and I will oftentimes step in, like, not even, someone who necessarily works for that brewery, but who will step in and try to explain, what's going on and what may have happened. I know Ben Little, he puts his knowledge to use a lot, trying to explain like what things may have happened when somebody comments about an issue with the beer. So honestly, and then like the second half of that question, like on the untapped syndrome, that's the classic one of people, things like getting a triple IPA and then saying, "Wow, that was really hoppy. I don't like hoppy beers." It's like, why'd you get a triple IPA? It was going to be hoppy.
Yeah. Did you know that going in, or was that news to you also?
Well, that's something I see a lot looking at ratings and things like that.
So not to peg two competing ways of getting information to a brewery against each other, but is there something more valuable about being able to have a direct conversation through a chat or a comment thread, like you can find with maybe the Maryland Beer subreddit or with Maryland Beer Drinkers Club, than there is with something like a blind rating that you don't have a chance to offer feedback to or respond to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge advantage there. Again, it's the educational aspect. Like if someone's unhappy with how a product came out, usually it's because the product didn't meet their expectations. And so you have the opportunity to say, we didn't meet expectations, or, well, your expectations were not probably in line with what the product is. If you're expecting a triple IPA not to be hoppy, I didn't fail to meet expectations. Your expectations were bad. And so it's just a chance to be like having the chance as an individual to have that conversation rather than being a faceless brand. It really makes a huge difference. Yes.
I think that's a good assessment. And I obviously was teeing that up to be an easy answer that yes, this communication back and forth is a hell of a lot more valuable than just looking at the number of stars or bottle caps or widgets or whatever you're given as a response from a customer. But, I think you're right. That chance to bridge that gap and the opportunity to really hear the voice of what that person is trying to tell you is pretty valuable. And I don't know that it totally replaces somebody telling you across your bar in your tasting room or, in line while they're waiting for your next release, what they think about whatever beer it is they're drinking. But I think it's great that they have an opportunity to put their thoughts down and share them with you in a way that can be productive. I'm kind of curious, just because I haven't seen a whole lot of talk about it in almost several years probably, but there used to be a big thing about the secondary marketplace in beer, and that was something that the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club didn't really, I don't think that you ever fully appreciated people having those conversations there, but it definitely became a hotbed for them. Is there still a massive trend that you guys are seeing with this secondary beer market, or is it basically like good beer is everywhere, get what you need and enjoy what you can locally?
Oh, there's still a massive, massive secondary beer market. We keep it off the page because it's illegal. Private sales of beer are illegal, and I can't tell you how many other groups like Facebook has shut down over that. So we keep it off, try to keep the group safe. But I'm in several groups where I see stuff like that, and I think the easiest example, most recent, was Toppling Goliath's Kentucky brand brunch stout, the KBBS. It was a 12-ounce bottle sold at the brewery for, I think it was $100. And then secondary value on that was easily $600-700 right off the bat. It's all about, it really comes down to all being about hype. Because I have been fortunate enough to try a lot of those like high rarity beers that people go crazy for. And I'll be honest, for the most part, I can find something just as good from somebody more local and for a reasonable price.
Brendan, where are your $700 beers, man?
Dude.
What, are you trying to make them accessible to everybody or something?
There is the math that you have to do. Like, I could sell one beer for $700 or 700 beers for $1. And at some point, there is a trade-off in there. So, if anyone can be out there selling $700 beers, like, I guess power to them. We haven't unlocked the secret yet.
Do you take any motivation from the secondary market? Has that ever been anything that you've looked at and have been curious about and tried to use it to your advantage?
No, I like to sell our beer to people who are going to drink it.
That's kind of the feeling that I had when I was in the industry too. There were people that I knew that were like, "Hey, how can we get this to stand up and have people want to trade it and have that demand?" Like the secondary market was going to result in direct sale pull through, and it didn't really make sense to me.
I mean, there's a little bit of that. Like, we sell to Tavour, and my hope is that nationally, as people see us on Tavour and are able to try us in California and Washington and Idaho and whatever, that, there's at least intrigue. Maybe it increases our social media presence, which makes us look more appealing to the next person who looks us up. But it's very indirect, intangible sort of benefits from doing that sort of thing. Brand exposure generally. I mean, we make money selling beer to Tavour, so I'm not out there chasing Tavour as like a marketing cost. It's a revenue stream for us, and I like that friends out of state can try our beer sometimes, but it's not. There's no intention to create some secondary market or whatever, you know.
I think that makes sense. And that's a little bit more like a beer club or an amplification of how you can get your brand out there rather than, I think, the idea of putting your beer in a stand-up bucket of beer and figure out how your card trades.
Yeah. I think we brew too much anyway. Our tap room isn't trafficked enough for that sort of thing. Like, we have to sell out in the tap room in order for there to be a secondary market. We're like behind an office building with no street signage in a place where you would never even think to look for us. So, and not like in an office building, like we're yeah, there's too many great breweries for everyone to be lining up anymore anyway too. So like, you know, that whole lifestyle, that whole thing is kind of dying unless you are already one of those brands. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of market for more of that to pop up.
So almost that the secondary market will support the brands that it has, but it's probably not going to be supporting a lot of newcomers or add-ons.
I think you got to have a really strong case of why you're cool before you open. Like, I look at Burnish and what Randy's doing. I think Randy's got a shot to be one of those breweries simply because he curated those beer lists at RAR. You know, he's done collabs with all of those hype breweries across the country. Like, he's got what it's going to take to do that. You know, the rest of us, we're Maryland breweries selling to Maryland consumers.
Yeah. That's good insight. We're getting some feedback that in terms of one-off can releases, the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club is a great place for you guys to be posting, and some viewers there would like to see more. It helps having that information in a single spot, and if they want to grab releases, it's good to be able to prioritize, like Brandon was saying, by going through the posts. And Kendrick also said that beer education is awesome, and more of that should happen. So It sounds like that engagement really is welcome, and the club is a really good forum for that to occur. In a place where people, you know, you may get heckled a little bit, but you may walk away with a little bit more knowledge than you had when you got there.
It's friendly heckling.
It truly is. I feel like most of the stuff in there is all in jest.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to give credit to Brandon in that regard. When I first joined a few years ago, the environment was a lot more toxic. Things have really improved with the moderation of that forum, and it's like a generally positive place to be now, which props to you, Brandon. Really great job, man.
I went on I took a zero tolerance policy for a while, and then I basically just weeded out most of the people that were being toxic. So
yeah, there are a couple names that don't show up anymore that used to be there predominantly, and it's a not that it's necessarily a kinder space, but it's a place where people can go and maybe not feel like they're going to be immediately maimed when they log on.
Unless your glass is dirty, then you know.
Well, I mean, some sins can't be forgiven.
I mean, I think part of the issue has always been the inability to convey tone well, you know, through typing, obviously. So what some people think is being like obviously sarcastic and funny, other people just don't see it that way, and they're taking it personal. And I think that's part of the thing for me for a while is like, I know the people who are saying these things, and I know what they're trying to say, but I also understand why the other person isn't getting it.
Right. Yeah, your sarcastic voice is definitely not always read well, and sometimes it takes knowing the audience too. If you don't know who you're, you know, spouting off sarcasm to, they may take it the wrong way and it becomes hostile.
Exactly.
I'm curious how. I know you guys are all members of other beer groups and online forums for beer talk. How do all of these places in general benefit you? Are they all providing the same kind of feedback opportunities, chances to collaborate with each other on ideas that come out of the ether or out of conversation, or you kind of prioritize your visits to those different destinations based on what you're trying to accomplish?
I mean, I mainly visit the Maryland Beer Drinkers just because that's our market. These are the people we know and the people we're selling to. I do get on some of the national ones, but you know, doesn't matter what someone in Colorado thinks of my beer, I guess. You know, like, so I don't want to show them like me pouring a beer. They don't care. Whereas, you know, the people in this group do. They're all local or local-ish. you know, potential customers.
Generally speaking, like I was just talking about, I find Maryland Beer Drinkers Club to be a much friendlier place. There's still, like I said, if you have a dirty glass, well, that's your fault. But otherwise, it's a nice place to learn about beer. Other groups that I've seen, I mean, I don't know what it is. Some folks, when they're beer lovers, it's so deep, they view it as so deeply ingrained in their personality, and there's this like need to be holier than thou or smarter than thou or something. And I see a whole lot less of that in this group than I do in others, which is a nice difference for Maryland Beer Drinkers Club.
Brandon, are you satisfied seeing that there's this wide breadth of representation from the consumer's point of view in this club, and that you generally can have a conversation that's either going to offer somebody a new piece of information or introduce them to something they didn't know, along with people who are able to share the more technical stuff? Is that kind of a cool thing to witness?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, again, like I was telling you earlier, I love that we can have people from everywhere from, you're an industry professional, you've been a brewer for 10 years, essentially everything there is to know about how beer is made and everything like that, all the way down to, the guy who went to San Diego on vacation and went to a bar and, he's tried a West Coast IPA for the first time and it, blew his mind. Now he wants to find out more about this stuff. So being able to run that entire gambit is pretty sweet.
What have you guys done actively to promote this group and make this haven for consumers? Or has this all just been organic where people are saying, I'm looking for something about craft beer and it pops up and that's where I've ended up? Is this all word of mouth?
It was basically all word of mouth. And once it got to a certain size, I'm not sure what the actual member number was. It started coming. It pops up on people's recommended groups via Facebook. But for the most part, yeah, it's just been word of mouth, and that's it.
Neil in the comments is asking if there are some places that everybody else is really digging right now. So maybe we can go around the horn and share some good experiences. Obviously, Homemade and True Respite are excellent places to be visiting. But do you guys have any haunts that you like to visit? I know one of Lucas's. He's sharing pictures from there all the time.
Neighbors. Yeah, man, if there's not a brewery in Washington County, I probably haven't been there yet. I've been in this building for, a year straight now. But yeah, man, I need to get out of here for a few minutes, grab a beer, some pizza. Ran over to Antietam, grabbed wings last night, and a beer too, Upper Stem. But yeah, I don't think I've left Washington County anymore.
I've enjoyed. I learned about Homemade being open on Maryland Beer Drinkers Club and drove my butt straight up there one Friday night, surprised Lucas and Steven Perez, their partner. I just rolled in the door and they were like, I think you guys recognize my face from Beer Drinkers Club when I walked in, right? Like, yep. Are you Brendan? I was like, yes, you're Lucas. And it was like, oh, now you put it together, because I hadn't met the guys in person before. So I loved my time at Homemade. Kid Chameleon, the white IPA, I fell in love with white IPAs at the Sandlot Brewery at Coors Field. They have a little 10-barrel micro behind home plate at Coors in Denver. And, I lived in Denver for 4 years-ish when I was doing the business plan for True Respite. And, when we were there for Rockies games, you could get $8 seats out in the wherever. And then I just head down to the brewery behind home plate, grab some good beers. And they had a white IPA that I was really just all about it. And I haven't had a beer that measured up to that, at least in terms of a white IPA, since my visit to Homemade. So everyone else has been talking about honey bunches of beer, but I was all blown away by Kid Chameleon. So
thanks, man. Thank you.
I have one of those left in my fridge from my visit over the weekend. So
good.
I might have to come back out.
Mm-hmm. And I also love visiting Tony down at Saints Row. If I get out, it's going to be to Saints Row or occasionally Weradaka. My kids love going over there, and they're so nice with my kids too. So they feel like at home in the Weradaka tap room. So I pick those three probably as my haunts: Saints Row, Weradaka, and Homemade recently.
Brandon, how about you? You tend to pop up everywhere.
Yeah, I go a lot of places, but if I had to pick 3 spots that I go most frequently, it'd probably be Nepenthe, Inverness, and Sapwood be where I go most frequently. Although recently I've been to Mobtown each of the past 2 weeks. I do really like a lot of the stuff that they're doing right now.
Yeah, Brandon bumped into each other on a whim at Firm a couple of weeks ago, like the day after their day of their first can release. So that was a nice thing. I was blown away. We're sitting there at 12:30. I played hooky that afternoon. My wife and I decided to get out and have a beer, and wanted to go visit Billy and Henry and see what they're doing. And we sit down, and within 5 minutes, in walks Brandon, Kendrick, and then like half the sales team from Heavy Seas all showed up. And I'm like, this is going to be the place. Everybody who cares about beer that's in this area is in this tap room right now. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was really random.
It was a very strange thing. I do have to say I've been popping into a couple of places that I haven't had the chance to visit recently, and Homemade was on my list way up there, and it was great to walk in last weekend and chat with Steven a little bit and shoot the breeze with your tap tender. He was wonderful, and the beers are great. Your location is awesomely welcoming and is a big difference from what it used to be when it was Cushwa's space. I think you've brought your own taste there and your own flair, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of luck doing what you're doing. Went to Brewery Fire for the first time this week. I think they're doing great. If you guys are in Carroll County for any reason and you need to go bowling and have great beer, or if you need to have great beer and then decide you have the courage to go bowling, go check out Brewery Fire. They've got some good things happening. And Firm is a place that I would highly recommend going to visit also. Those are just 3 new places that I hadn't been that I can think of, and all of them have come up in Maryland Beer Drinkers Club. I'm just looking to see. Looks like Anthony was at Homemade today. Wanted to let you know you guys are doing a great job.
Nice.
So what do we see the future of opportunities like this looking like? Brendan, you continue to talk about the idea of meeting expectations and delivering on quality by aligning what's delivered with those expectations, or aligning the expectations to the product that's delivered. Do we see more opportunities to kind of be ahead of the ball when it comes to aligning those expectations and really setting what those expectations should be for people in groups like this?
It's hard to say what I think is going to happen stylistically in terms of trends and what's cool and what people are looking for and what they expect. That I think is tougher. To me, looking ahead, I think you have to look a little behind. And the past year has just changed things fundamentally. I mean, places that were never planning on canning had to invest in packaging equipment, and you don't stuff that genie back in the bottle. That means that, retailers who used to carry a decent assortment of local beer, they're buried in local options. The level of competition on shelves is crazy. It makes it harder as a brewery to make money in distro. That puts a lot of pressure on breweries to start focusing on retail. And I think the real changes are going to be in craft beer experiences more so than they are in the brands and the styles themselves. Like, what can you bring to the table? Do you have a big open air area? Do you have, a tap room that accommodates a lot of people? Can you, is it well finished? Is it a place I'm comfortable? Do you not allow kids? Do you allow kids? That's a critical bifurcating thing that's just dividing people these days. So I think the biggest changes that are happening in beer right now are actually experiential, as opposed to like driven by style or anything like that.
I think that's a fair assessment too, with how the business and revenue model of most new breweries is an on-premise opportunity, a chance to sell your beer in one location to a consumer that's there to see you, not to be competing necessarily at a corner bar or something with 13 other options on tap. You get that great opportunity to have the audience kind of captivated and included in your whole story. They get your aesthetic, they get your whole vibe. And if you watch our conversation last week with the folks we had on discussing the diversity of tap rooms and engagement, you really get to set the standard for what your brand's going to represent to people on your own turf.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, yeah.
I think that this has been a good chat. I, again, can't thank the audience that you have helped to cultivate, Brandon, enough. Your community that you guys have there has been incredible to this industry as a whole. A lot of crossover between your fans and the fans of the Brewers Association, folks that are here to really support and keep driving this industry forward. So thanks for all of your hard work, getting everybody motivated and polite. That's great. And to Brendan and Lucas, I like watching what you guys are doing within groups like this. I think it's awesome. The Maryland Beer Drinkers Club is not the only active group where I spot these guys. So if you're out there looking, whether you're on the professional side or the consumer side, you can find engagement with these guys just about everywhere. But if you're watching us right now on Facebook and you're not a member of the Maryland Beer Drinkers Club, go over and join. It's a great place. You get to interact with these folks quite a bit and get to learn a lot more. So thank you all very much. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and do what you can to enjoy great beer. If you're watching, please support a Maryland brewery this weekend. It's the last couple of days of FeBREWary. We would love to see the beers that you're drinking. We'd love to hear about all the places that you're visiting. And we really appreciate all of that. And make sure you go pick up one of these really awesome glasses. I had Eddie Grove's glass last week. This is Brian Baltz's glass. BeerMe, BIERMI.com/store/BAM. All the proceeds go to the Brewers Association of Maryland, and visit marylandbeer.org for more updates about what we're doing. Y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.